Welcome to another session with us here on Food from Zanzi's Twitter Spaces. Tonight we're talking about how to grow and market moringa and turmeric. And I think these are what some may refer to as they're fighting foods. These days, anything that people take with this in it, they believe that it's doing wonders. So maybe we want to unpack that a little bit tonight and hear from our experts, our farmers, how we can grow it and how we can market it and make the most of this trend at the moment. For those that might not know me, I'm Donumdu. I host these sessions once a week on Food from Zanzi's Twitter Spaces. I'm going to ask my first guest, Lauren Strever, to introduce herself. She's not new to this platform. We've had her on one of these sessions talking about dragon fruit, and it was a really insightful conversation. And I'm hoping to get so much more out of her even tonight when we talk about moringa and turmeric. So, Lauren, maybe just a bit about you, what you do, and where you're based. Thank you.
Hi, Dawn. Thank you so much. And thanks again for the opportunity to join you. It's such a great platform and such a great service that you offer. I live on our family farm in the Limpopo province. I grew up here. I was born not on the farm, but when I was born, my parents were already on the farm. It's been in the family since the early 50s. And in a professional capacity, I've been on the farm for 15 years now. And I've got kids that live on the farm with me and my husband. So it's very much our home and our family space. And we have a farm where we produce macadamias and avocados predominantly, but we also have a nursery. And we are constantly looking at ways to diversify and expand in the nursery. And dragon fruit was one of the big ones that we diversified in a couple of years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago now. And through the dragon fruit, we looked at ways to maximize on the land that was being occupied by our dragon fruit mother block, which was actually developed for the nursery. And along with my father, who is very passionate about plants, we decided to trial turmeric. A while ago, we also grew a couple of moringa trees in the nursery, but it never really was a crop that we pushed, or, we made a couple of trees and we sold them all, and then we kind of forgot about it. And it was more recently, and sparked again by my interactions with Jason, who's one of the other guests, who's actually our consultant for the Amarantia Sweet Dragon Fruit brand. He's also got a great passion for many different plants, and he really also brought moringa back onto the radar for me. And we've recently germinated some more trees in the nursery, and we're quite new to it. We're producing a little bit of moringa powder from some of the trees that we had planted on the farm, and still learning quite a lot. We harvest our turmeric through the mother block of the dragon fruit every year, which has been quite successful. It's quite small scale, and we're looking at ways to actually expand on that. So really, really, really excited about the future of both of these crops.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And I always enjoy listening to people's stories about how they choose to diversify with which crops they choose and exploring these new avenues and, how it's worked for them and also maybe how it's not worked for them. Thank you so much for sharing that. Over to Jason. Lauren has somewhat introduced you a little bit, but maybe you can just tell us more about you, where your journey started in agriculture, and how did you end up with moringa?
Hello, everybody. My name is Jason Sampson, and I'm a botanist based at the University of Pretoria. I've been working on and off with moringa since probably about 2013. We have a moringa research facility under Professor Elsa de Toy at the University of Pretoria. I myself am a food plant specialist. I work with very many different food plants, and it sometimes becomes the love of a month, and then I move on to something else. But I've been working with dragon fruit since 2017, and I am working with some very exciting projects at the moment, which are promoting access to orphan crops generally, urban gardens, and farmer education and uplift. A lot of these projects that we're involved in that are on the horizon promote things like moringa and turmeric because they are good companion plants that can be planted together. You can set up multi-output fields with them, And of course, as you've already mentioned, they are superfoods, the both of them.
Thanks, Jason, for that. Let's talk about the plant itself. Jason, what makes this plant so special? Like you just said, it is a superfood. Some call it a magic plant. If you talk about moringa, people get excited about it these days. What is it that makes it so special?
It's a number of different things. It's a small tree that is native to the foothills of the Himalayas, but it's been spread around the world over the last few hundred years just because it's such a multi-use crop. So it grows faster than most trees you've ever seen. In the right climate, you can actually grow it from seed to making its new seed in 9 months. Okay, and this is a tree. Normally, trees take years to get anywhere near reproducing. So it produces a huge amount of biomass. So that's not just wood, but leaves. When you look at the leaves, they're very close to being almost a multivitamin, if you were to stretch the term. There are a huge amount of nutrients concentrated in those leaves, which become even more concentrated if you dry the leaf. The young pods are a good vegetable. The flowers are also edible. You can get a seed oil from the adult seeds that's comparable in quality to olive oil. And it's a tree that will grow in most tropical and subtropical climates with minimal irrigation depending on your rainfall. It's kind of an all-in-one package.
It definitely sounds like that. Definitely excites me, and I'm sure many of the farmers listening are as excited as I am. Thanks, Jason, for that. Rhoda, thank you so much. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you guys are doing with Moringa, and maybe just a bit about you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. My name is Rhoda Mafemba. I am a founding director of Afrique Renaissance and Sensational Sunshine Trading, which is registered in South Africa. We are a private entity that is promoting the growth of organic medicinal herbs, which includes moringa. Our sister company is in Germany, where my other founding directors are based in, who are availing the market for these medicinal herbs, moringa and turmeric included. So the model of operating that we are engaging is we don't have farms in Africa, but we engage a lot of organic farmers in Africa, get them trained, help them hold their hands on as they produce and process moringa for EU market that we would have organized for them. But these medicinal herbs should be farmed organically and done to book with a lot of training and for traceability. Moringa has got a very big market in EU, like Germany, United States, Canada, and all those European countries. So we are promoting the North-South cooperation, whereby Africa produces and EU is our targeted market. Even if the whole Africa was to produce these medicinal herbs like moringa, the market will never be saturated. But the catch is on how you produce organic moringa using organic manure in a systematic way so that you satisfy the market. Afrique Renaissance is helping out those farmers that have got very little resources to start off. Moringa, for example, is not very difficult or very expensive to start off production. So if you start off production and you get offset agreements so that you are growing for a ready market in Europe, in Germany, and you will be micromanaging so that you grow it to book, then you will be a recognized supplier where the demand cannot be saturated easily like that. But this moringa, the model that we are employing is also to not to just grow one type of medicinal herb, but to grow moringa with other herbs around and to do it in an integrated way. So it will be agribusiness, so to speak. And this business of organic like guano that we are also promoting and raising a lot of awareness on. So if these organic farmers are using organic manure, They grow their moringa or their medicinal herbs, whatever type they are growing, and they send it to a ready market, be it commercial farmers, small-scale farmers, medium farmer growers, or peasant farmers or cooperative, those small groupings. The idea is to help community development by having those little groupings in the village, in the grassroots, to access the market if they do it right.
Thanks, Rhoda. Thanks for that, very detailed breakdown of how you are using the specific crop to your benefit and also incorporating it into your bigger plans with the region that you're operating in, and also giving us some insights into the market itself. Jason, I know this is one of the questions that we were hoping to cover later on, but let's talk a little bit, if we can just jump the gun and talk a little bit about the market while we're on it. Do you agree with Rhoda and her statements in terms of the market? And then Lauren, maybe your take as well. Thanks.
The market for organic moringa powder is big and is growing. As word of moringa spreads, it grows more. I mean, when I first heard about the plant back in the early 2010s, I'd never heard of it. And I'm a working botanist. And it actually sounded a little bit too good to be true. But when I investigated it, I found out not only does it exist, it is as good as they say it is. So the nice thing about moringa powder is it's not a particularly bulky product. It's easy to produce, and there's a good market for it. It's used in many different products, not just a powder that one packs in a pill. I've seen it in health drinks. There's actually, I think I bought some a Magoo the other day that had moringa powder in it, and it was quite tasty. You can add it to food. It's added to certain cosmetics and beauty products. And that's just the powder. We were talking about the oil just now. The primary market for the oil currently is in beauty products because the world production is so low. And if you hear that world production in something that has a market is low, then you need to see that there's a potential opportunity.
No, definitely. Lauren, is this why you chose to diversify into this specific commodity?
So, Dawn, for us at Amarentia, I think that's going to be an exciting, almost secondary for us. So our initial interest was in the nursery, to actually produce and sell the trees from the nursery perspective. But the more I learn about moringa, the more excited I get and the more I see use to diversify with it, even on the farm. So using it as a companion in the dragon fruit, using it in maybe marginal spots on the farm that are not that easy to plant, to more traditional crops. It's quite an adaptable plant, drought resistant. For that reason, it can be really versatile. And, my initial understanding of it was really the powder. And, I'd come across it before and I'd used the powder and I'd even cooked with the leaves. You can cook it almost like a spinach, and used it in smoothies and things like that. But I'm learning more and more about how diverse it is. The fact that Jason said the oil that can be used in the beauty industry, as Jason mentioned as well, the pods that can be eaten. It's just really, really opened up my eyes to how big the scope is. And it's actually so accessible to people to plant. Even though it's a tree, it doesn't have to be kept. It doesn't have to be left to become a very tall tree that might be difficult to manage. You can actually keep pruning it and keep it low down so that you can easily harvest the leaves, which is really, really exciting. So for us, we're still very much in a process of discovering more and more about moringa. In terms of the market, I can only visualize. Also in the health and beauty industry, I know what it's like when people catch wind of something like this, where it is so powerful and it is so versatile, and everybody is on. Well, not everybody, but there's a growing awareness for health and health products. So you can only imagine how people are going to grasp onto that aspect and run with it. And then it's all about marketability at the end of the day, and marketing a product. And how can you not? It's a dream to market in terms of, how accessible it is, how, I wouldn't say just easy to grow, but it's really quite low maintenance compared to many things. So yeah, with the right energy behind it and the right marketing behind it, it can only continue to grow for South African producers.
No, definitely. Thanks, Lauren. I think Rhoda was echoing that sentiment and just adding, basically just agreeing with you guys. Let's talk a little bit more about Jason mentioned the timelines being 9 months, which is not really common for most trees. Maybe you can just talk about timelines and then preferred climate conditions. I hear you guys saying it's hardy, it's not that difficult to grow, but maybe you can just focus on the ideal conditions for them to thrive. I have read that they quite well adapted to a wide range of soil types. So maybe you guys can just break that down a little bit for us, for people who might be interested in venturing and growing the specific crop. Rhoda, would you like to take this one? And then Jason and Lauren also?
The short variety, you can start harvesting it from 4 months to 6 months. And moringa doesn't need a lot of water, so even in dry regions, it thrives well. And from our experience, planting is faster and friendly than the seeds itself. And also watering it in the morning and in the evening, it keeps moisture better. And where we used a lot of guano, this bed manure, it helps to keep the moisture and it thrives fast and much better. There's a variety that you can start harvesting when it's a short dwarf, and that one you can harvest for longer. And until when you decide to then harvest the bark or the roots and the pods as well. But the leaves you can start from 4 months going up, you can harvest. Because the good part with moringa is everything is used. The leaves, the flowers, the bark, the roots, almost everything, the whole tree, you can do something beneficial, whether to food or to skin, to hair, to all sorts. So you don't need like rainy forests or a lot of water where you need to make sure that you've got borehole water or river where you've got access to water if it's not very good rainy place that you are planting the moringa. That's why it's good because it can be done anyway at any given time. Growing it with other medicinal herbs or doing it with other farming activities that you would want to do, like rearing of goats, you can also make the leaves animal feed from the leaves. It's very nutritious for the animals as well. And then you get the animals' poo as manure to recycle so that you are also promoting secular agriculture and it becomes secular economic in a way whilst you are making money make sense.
It makes total sense. Thanks, Rhoda. And it sounds absolutely amazing. Let's talk about planting density. How much space do I need? I mean, what Rhoda is referring to is people who maybe diversify on a small to medium scale. But if I am looking at producing it on a mass scale, is it possible to do it on a commercial level? I haven't come across commercial moringa producers. What are some of the costs involved? Maybe Lauren can talk about what they're selling in their nursery. What are some of the common varieties that thrive in our regions? Maybe Lauren and then Jason.
We retail or wholesale, so on a commercial scale, a tree for in the region of 50 Rand a tree. And in terms of spacing, Jason is well equipped to answer that question. And then that obviously has a big impact on your overall cost. And then obviously just in terms of land preparation, I would hazard a guess that it's a lot lower to prepare the land for developments than it would be for many other commercial crops.
Jason, your take?
Rhoda talked about growing conditions and some of the uses they use the plants for further north. I've seen some very interesting projects in South Africa. So moringa likes tropical to subtropical conditions. It's not very happy in areas that get temperatures that are regularly below zero. But I've seen some very successful small farms in areas like that. So it all depends on how they're growing it. So we talked about moringa reproductive maturity in 9 months. That means that you can either grow the plant as a tree or you can grow it under very high density like maize. That means you can start getting a harvest in 3 to 4 months, continually harvest the leaves the entire season until the plants are cut down by the cold. And generally speaking, if you mulch the roots well, they come back again in summer. So that extends the areas that you can grow the plant into large amounts of South Africa. The thing is, you have to choose your land use. Some areas you're not going to be able to maintain the plant as a tree, and other areas you can maintain them as a tree. I'm very excited at the possibilities of using moringa in agroforestry in South Africa. So using it as a secondary crop in orchards where you grow other things that require a bit of shade, like dragon fruit or turmeric. And then you can get multiple outputs out of the same field.
And I guess that's how it works perfectly with tonight's topic and how it goes hand in hand. Rhoda, has this also been your experience in your regions?
Yes, even in organic bee production, whereby if you're growing that variety of the moringa that grows to a bigger tree, you can put your beehives in those moringa trees. And as long as it's in a place where you are doing organic farming with proper buffer zone from your conventional farming, then you can your beehives there and do your organic honey. It will be called organic moringa organic honey because the bees will get their food from moringa flowers, moringa nectar. Therefore, you are also doing the honey business whilst you are growing moringa and you are still harvesting the leaves and stuff. At the same time, you get your moringa honey.
That sounds absolutely amazing, Rhoda. Thank you so much for sharing that. It excites me because I don't think I've ever seen, at least not in our regions, moringa honey before. And that excites me. It really does, more than you can imagine. Let's talk about the harvesting process and storage conditions for the crops. Because, okay, you've all highlighted that you can use different aspects of the plant, the tree itself. So, where does the powder come from? Maybe just if you can break it down like that for us. Rhoda, while I have you, maybe you can start and then Jason can add.
Yes, so when you harvest the leaves, if you don't have a processing plant as yet, suppose you are a small farmer where you don't have a processing plant as yet, you can make a man-made dryer where you dry the leaves. The leaves must be dried in a shade, not under the direct sun. So when those leaves are dried, you put them through a process of grinding them so that it becomes powder and you package them for export or for resale to the retail markets. But with the roots as well, you need to dry it first and then you grind it to make it into powder. Some go to an extent of they do the value addition at their farm elsewhere where they readily make the moringa tea. Some they sell as powder, just depending on how you can stretch yourself to do. If you want to go the whole 9 yards of even packaging to make moringa tea leaves, moringa tea bags, it's up to you. But what we are sending to Germany at the moment is the powder form, so that they will do the beverage companies or the pharmaceutical companies will make capsules or whatever tea leaves or tea bags that they want to do there in Europe.
Thanks, Rhoda. Jason, just the one aspect in terms of you spoke briefly about it in the beginning about the nutritional value of moringa. It has been included in some diets, to combat malnutrition, especially among infants and breastfeeding women in developing countries. Maybe you can just talk about the key benefits of it. And I think, Rhoda, you can also touch on it if you'd like. But Jason, maybe just this question for you, and then Rhoda could also add. Thanks.
The key insight here, this is a research and NGO work going back into the 90s. World Church Council is one, Trees for Life International. They got very involved in developing countries and so forth, pushing moringa as something that can help with malnutrition. So there's nothing in this world that's a silver bullet, but moringa leaves, once you dry those leaves out, it concentrates the nutrients within them. So just as a list, they've got zinc and calcium, all essential amino acids, which is quite unusual for a plant food. Normally, there's a couple of amino acids we need to get from animal protein. There's omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids. So got 46 antioxidants and 36 anti-inflammatory agents, vitamin A, vitamin K, complete B complex, including B7, which is biotin, vitamin C, D, and E. There's also been other phytomedicinal tests that have shown that it can help maintain healthy cholesterol levels, etc. I mean, it's actually ridiculous. I'm not going to sit and list everything and anything, but it is a ridiculously rich food. And that, I think, is what has attracted people. But I think what Rhoda has also highlighted just in talking is the amount of different products that one can actually make from the tree. So the honey is a new one on me. Now I also have to try it. But, the pharmaceutical companies are looking at making dietary supplements and so forth. The guys doing beauty products want the oils. Did you know that if you actually crush moringa seed, you can use it as a flocculant to help clean water? It'll pull all the dirt out of the water, then all you have to do is boil it. I mean,
Wow.
it's ridiculous how many uses the tree actually has, and every time I do a little bit more reading on it and I revisit the subject every few years, somebody's figured out something different to do with this plant. It's almost a gift from the universe, if I'm allowed to be a little bit dramatic.
Jason, I think we can probably sit and you and I and Rhoda and Lauren can sit and talk about this for a long time. And I'm actually bummed that we only have an hour. Rhoda's having a good time because she knows it. She's had all of this insight for a while. And I think, you have specific things that you're working on, Rhoda. And I think as we wrap up, I'd like to just ask everyone to give their final comments. We spoke about the market, but maybe you can just talk about it again briefly for those who may have missed it. In the beginning, we said it's definitely something that you can diversify with. So if you can just touch again on that briefly, and then final comments, and then also how people can connect more. Is there a commodity organization? Is there like the way, does it fall under, crops, vegetables? How can one kind of do more research on it? I mean, the work that you guys are doing, Jason, in Pretoria, how does one tap into it? Lauren, even from your side, from the nursery side, how does one get some of those trees going, even if it's like 5 as a start to just grow that and test it out? I think I'm going to start with Lauren. Lauren, thanks.
So, Dawn, as I mentioned, we have trees available. It is also quite easy to get hold of the seed, actually. You can look online and make sure that you buy, if you're looking to do the powder, the moringa oleifera, and it actually does germinate quite easily as well, which is quite exciting and so quickly. What's amazing is sowing it in the nursery. It was almost within a couple of days that we saw our first little sprouts from the first germination. And it's so exciting to watch them grow so quickly. They're remarkable. When we did our transplant into the bags, I phoned Jason in a bit of a panic because a lot of them had the stems, which had looked so lovely in the initial phase of the nursery propagation phase, had died back. And I said, I've somehow killed all of these moringa trees. And he said, no, Lauren, you haven't killed them. They'll be absolutely fine. So the stem had died back, but the root has got a very interesting root structure. They are all 100% alive. And even now, going into the cooler weather, they've started sprouting again, new leaves, new little stems. And I know by September, October, November, they're probably going to be ready to plant in fields. So just from the nursery perspective, that's really exciting. I want to also just mention another thing in terms of marketing and use for moringa. It's become quite popular to use in craft gin. I don't drink, so I haven't tasted it, but that's definitely another use for it.
And then just on that point, the taste, maybe for those that may not have had it before, what does it taste like? I mean, I've tasted a little bit, but maybe you guys can also just give me more detail. It's not as easy to consume. You have to kind of take it with something else. It's not like you can take a spoonful or add it to a drink that's with milk, or how does one usually consume it?
I find the fresh leaves taste for me very much like a mustard kale. Fresh leaves are sometimes quite easy to add into a meal. The powder is a stronger flavor. You need to think about that a little bit more. It concentrates the flavor.
Okay. Rhoda, just your final comments. How can one reach you, farmers in your area? I know that you guys are doing other projects in South Africa as well and other parts of Africa.
Yes, I will give you my email and my contacts so that any interested farmers, be it cooperatives or commercial farmers or small-scale farmers who are wanting to grow moringa or any other medicinal herbs organically, can contact us so that maybe we can make an arrangement for them to grow their moringa for a targeted market. Our main market is Europe. The market will never be saturated. By 2021, it was about 771 billion US dollars expected from moringa only. and which is expected to be 17.55 billion by 2030. So the market cannot be saturated. Even if we were to have the whole Africa growing moringa, we will never saturate the market because moringa is used in a variety of ways as food supplement, as medicinal herb, for honey, like I said. So it's got a lot of benefits and a lot of ways how it can be used. A lot of countries are needing the moringa, especially USA, Singapore, Canada, India, UK, Germany, Italy. All those countries are buying moringa like nobody's business. So our sister company that is based in Germany, where the other directors are situated, they are in contact touch persistently with the beverage organizations in Germany. We've got agreements with them and with big pharmaceutical organizations in Germany. So we've got a lot of orders that we need to satisfy. So there is no way the supply will overtake demand. The demand is big. The cake is big. We are engaging farmers everywhere in Africa. In Malawi, we are in talks with a group that is going to start growing moringa. In Tanzania, we're going to start very soon. And in South Africa, we've got this company that we are talking to that we are going to be dealing with, be engaging quite soon. People can contact us. We can discuss on modalities, not only for moringa, but for all medicinal herbs like basil, lemongrass, melissa, lavender, all those medicinal herbs that we see as useless here in Africa, on high demand in Europe. So bird's eye chili, you can imagine how we look at bird's eye chili and it's like just an ordinary something. A lot of it is needed in Europe. They are making capsules for arthritis, rheumatism, or osteoporosis. That typical type of arthritis, it cures in Europe. So sky is the limit. Let's grow moringa. Let's green the world. But we need to grow these medicinal herbs organically. And if we are growing them at a farm where we are doing both organic farming and conventional farming, we need to make sure that there are these big buffer zones. If we grow moringa methodically and to book, we will never satisfy the market.
Thanks, Rhoda. You've convinced us. And I'm sure that many will be in touch with you. So thank you so much for joining us and for contributing. It may have been a bit of a struggle to get you here with all the technicalities. Jason, just your last comments as we wrap up. You really excite me when you say that even as a botanist, the more research you do, I think there's always more to learn about this crop. In a few years' time, we'll come back. In fact, just months' time, you'll come back and you'll say, I discovered something else. So, just your last and final comments, Jason. Thanks.
I think Rhoda has said anything that I wanted to say and more. But this is just one of these things that caught my imagination a decade ago and has just never left. And it's just something that people need to be growing and people need to be looking into and investigating and seeing. I'd be happy if the whole of Africa were growing moringa. I really would. I hope that we've inspired a few people with our talk tonight.
Definitely, you've inspired me, Jason. I'm thinking even just of getting a few trees in my backyard. I don't have much space, but I'm definitely going to try and connect with Lauren, get some seeds, order from her nursery, whatever works. I'm encouraged by your words. I am encouraged to actually have this conversation again, maybe focusing specifically on the agro-processing side, on the processing side, as part of these weekly discussions that we have here on Food from Mzansi's Gathered to Grow. And remember, if you have any questions and if you'd like to suggest any topics and if you want to know more, just please DM us, DM me personally, Dawn Numdu. You can also find me on Twitter and I'll make sure that I get the experts on board and we have those, very important conversation. Thank you, Lauren. I have to thank you because you were the one who said, hey, I haven't been on these sessions for a while. What do you think about moringa? And I was like, yes. So thank you, Lauren, for actually suggesting the topic in the first place. I appreciate you. It's awesome. I didn't think I would have this much fun. I knew it was like people kept saying it's a magic, plant. My friend, when I was telling her about it, she's like, "Oh, this is my fighter. This one fights for me." Thank you so much, Rhoda. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Lauren. All the best with the work that you guys are doing. We'll be back again on Gather to Grow next week. From my side, have a great rest of the evening. All the best with your farming ventures. All the best with load shedding struggles. We'll keep shining and keep thriving in this amazing sector we work in. Thank you. Bye bye.